Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the first race of the 2020 Fuel R slash Real Track, RaceTrack Designs IndyCar series. As we get ready to kick things off at the Twin Ring Motegi Oval, Seth Cole alongside of Sam Dyer. And Sam, one thing that I noticed is it's going to be very difficult to pick out a winner based off practice because the top 20 on the running order were all just 0.3 of a second separation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that we're going to see a lot throughout this year is a lot of these cars are going to be running very close times. These IndyCars like to be right on top of each other, and we're going to see a lot of nice battles throughout the season.
Thing that we've noticed here coming into this race as well, these drivers, they may have good low downforce with these cars being as low to the ground as they are, but they will be fighting for grip. Track temperature over 100 degrees. It was about 106 in qualifying, and so these drivers, they're going to be sliding around through the corners at a track that, let's be honest, doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of banking.
No, it really doesn't. It's kind of like Darlington, but flatter. It's one of the trickier tracks. You've got two of the corners are very different. 1 and 2 is completely different from 3 and 4. But the line you want to be on is right at the bottom on that white strip.
One thing we've also seen is if you do mess up and your car gets out of shape, the hits you take here, we saw in practice, are violent. So if you get involved in a wreck, it's going to be very unlikely that that car is still going to be up to speed. And it's 130 laps, so these drivers have to pace themselves. Take a look here at the starting grid as Riley Thompson was top of the board, and we'll start on the front row alongside of Danny Roberts. But a lot of drivers that are here in the mid-pack to rear of the field. I mean, you got to think that they want to pick up as many spots as they can in case the field gets spread out, but how hard can they push it?
I mean, they can push it as hard as they want. I think really the issue here is you're going to have to wait to see for someone to make a mistake at the bottom and lose some of that traction and slide up and try to take that advantage of going below these guys.
Of course, with there being slick conditions out there, these drivers are also going to have to take care of those tires because a spin, a slide through the corner, you're going to end up heating up those rear tires especially, and you need those rear tires to be as cool as possible to have the optimal grip.
Yeah, I think the one thing we got to watch out for as we're going green here is who's got the short run and who's got the long run as Riley Thompson takes the green.
And gets a good jump. Battle's going to be for the second position. Danny Roberts tucks down in line. They're now side by side for third.
A lot of these cars
very quickly, the third place battle was gone. Sorry.
It's all right. As these cars are battling through, we're seeing a battle for second, but a lot of the action is from fifth on back as all these cars are trying to get down to the bottom line where that is the cleanest place to be, as most of these cars are going to be right on top of each other.
Battle for the lead there. Danny Roberts took a peek on Riley Thompson, couldn't do it, now jumps up a little bit higher going into 1 and 2, trying to get the run off the corner, and that's the beauty of these Indy cars is you're able to get such a run on the exit of the corner and out of the straightaway, and again, Roberts going to make the move into 3.
These guys were just hundreds off of one another in practice and qualifying, so I'm expecting to see them battling back and forth throughout this whole entire race as they're still side by side going into turn number 1.
Thing I saw in practice was a number of drivers try that second line that Thompson currently is on. The one thing they have to be careful of is not to get back to the throttle too soon or else they're going to pound the wall, especially off turn 4. Looks like Roberts has Thompson cleared for the top position.
Yeah, there's just not enough grip on top, and so the bottom line is going to pull away. As Thompson now is clear and he's able to be in line, but we're still seeing cars juggling back and forth all the way back to 6th.
They're actually going to battle for third now. That is going to be the 32 of Andrew Wood trying to get by Will Roberts. Hasn't yet completed the pass, and they're actually side by side ahead of them for the race lead as well. And that's a thing about being side by side is that's going to bring the drivers behind you up into your battle as well.
I think another thing we're going to have to look out for is since these cars are so aerodynamically focused that you're going to see a lot of these cars drafting on one another, entering these corners, and you were seeing that coming off of turn 2 where Riley Thompson had such a run coming on to the number 41 in the lead.
Board right here with Andrew Wood, who just went around Will Roberts for the third position on the top side. And it looks like there are a couple of guys there, especially up towards the front. Wood is one. I believe also Will Roberts is testing that second groove. Seems to actually be working to give them a really good draft down the both front and back straightaways.
Yeah, the runs that these guys are getting, it's actually surprising to see. I thought it would take a little bit longer for the outside line to come in, but it is coming in strong as we're only 6 laps in right now.
Definitely start to see a little bit more dark gray up there a little further on the track, and there's actually a couple of cars that are even up above that. We're looking here at the 21 of John Poole III. He's currently in the 7th position, and he's moved up about maybe 2 grooves higher than the race leaders are running.
Maybe he sees something that we don't, because he is just running so much higher as now he's dropping back down into the gray area that we're seeing.
Thing too, we talk about it being so aerodynamically dependent. You get such a big run going into the corner, sometimes you kind of fake yourself out and carry too much speed into the turn. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I got to try and back off a little so I make sure I'm going to be safe exiting the corner and not slapping the wall.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are coming in so quick. Like I was saying earlier, these corners are both so different. 1 and 2 is much wider than 3 and 4, and so you can carry a little bit more speed through 1 and 2, but not as much in 3 and 4.
Andy Roberts has managed, at least for the moment, to shake Riley Thompson for the lead. The battle now brewing for second. Andrew Wood, who we saw testing the outside line a few moments ago, now he's down on that white line on the bottom trying to get to the inside of Thompson for second.
Just looking around at the different cars that are around track, one of our biggest movers so far is going to be the 67 of Connor Horn. He's moved up 4 positions from 8th to 4th, and he has cracked that top 4 and is still moving forward.
A lot of times, we look at certain racetracks and we're able to say, wow, that driver's been able to run really good lap times. He must be the fastest car moving through the field. But with all these drivers out there running each other's drafts, it's actually very difficult to tell just based on lap times who is out there picking up spots. So to your point, with Connor Horn being able to move from 8th to 4th, that shows he's got a car that can make passes and keep himself moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of these cars aren't really moving anywhere quick. Maybe the other drivers that we've seen are moving up 1 to 2 positions. A couple of these cars that have moved back, it's going to be back in about 12th position, 11th position. Like, only cars that are losing about 1 to 2 positions. And it's good to see that these guys are still so close to one another.
Really is. I mean, right now, you've got only about 2.5 seconds separating the entire top 10. And at a track like this, that actually is pretty close. So these drivers are all still within pretty close proximity to each other. We've been able to, so far, keep it clean and green. Obviously, there's a long ways to go in this race, but these drivers have to now start thinking about keeping as much tire as they can underneath them, so that way they'll have enough to be able to go as long as they need to on a fuel run, potentially, if we do come down to green flag pit stops.
It looks like Connor Horn coming up onto Riley Thompson, trying to make a move here and see if he can get a run off turn number 3.
One thing I'm noticing, it seems like, especially up here in the top 5, maybe even back through the top 10, no 2 drivers seem to be running the same line. Everybody has a different entry, everybody has a different exit, and that's why we're seeing these battles continue to brew all the way through the top 10.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how these guys are running the high line and how they're getting so much more speed if they're using less tire, and if they're going to have a better long run compared to these guys that are trying to hold the white line.
This will be interesting to see too, especially early on in this thing with drivers maybe starting to get themselves into tire conservation mode, just how hot and heavy the battles will be. I mean, we're seeing here that Riley Thompson not willing to let Connor Horn by. I thought maybe with Connor getting such a big run on him, Riley would have said, all right, here, take the 3rd position. I'll come back to 4th and just ride. Battle brewing here. That's between John Poole and Zach Buchanan. You've also got Thomas Brezzi in the 24 just ahead. This is a good battle from 6th back to 8th.
Yeah, the 6th back to 8th. I mean, you're seeing clusters of cars that are building up as our leaders are starting to pull away from everyone. I'm wondering if we're just going to be seeing these clusters of cars stay together, or if anyone's going to be trying to split up any of these cars. There's battles back in 9th, battle for 10th, and just all over the place. There's little battles here and there.
Battle here for 12th we were just seeing between Kite Brummersbach and Robert Hall. Up here, the battle for the 3rd position continues to be hot and heavy. 2nd groove is where Connor Horn is running. He's closed the gap back up on Riley Thompson.
As we're also starting to see a battle for the lead as Andrew Wood has just closed it down on Danny Roberts.
Had it closed down to about car length and a half. Lost a little ground there through 3 and 4. Tries to draft right back up. He's there again and continues to try and use that second line. Actually, that might even be the third line. Yeah, he's out of the dark gray going through 1 and 2. And boy, he's going to get a big run out of 2.
Keeping it so high, keeps the speed and goes down low, trying to go for the lead is Andrew Wood.
That's one thing, too, that these drivers have to kind of figure out is, do I have a car that can maneuver both the top and the bottom? Because we saw how strong Andrew Wood was on the top side through 1 and 2. The question was, how good was the car going to be on the inside line? We saw it as he clears Roberts for the lead. Roberts, though, wants the top spot back.
I think it looks like a lot of people, if they can stick the high line and going through 1 and 2, they've got so much speed. And then if you can stay on the bottom through 3 and 4, that's the fastest way around this track right now.
Roberts going to try and run that outside line through 3 and 4. May have lost a bit of ground there. Looked like he had to lift through the center. That battle for third place, though, continues on. Connor Horn continuing to hound Riley Thompson. And here's a battle for the 8th position. That's Zach Buchanan trying to get by Thomas Bessie. Actually, that's for the 7th spot. My apologies. I believe Connor Horn has now gotten around Riley Thompson using the high side through 3 and 4. So move Horn up into a podium spot for the moment.
Moving quite well, is also looking back in the pack. Our biggest loser so far has lost a lot of time. Is going to be the number 4 of Liam Quinn. He has lost a lot of spaces. Started 5th and now all the way back to 11th.
Under fire as well for what would be the 11th spot. That is Robert Hall trying to go around him. Not too far back. You've got the 1 of Kite Brommersbach as well, trying to reel in those 2 and make it a 3-man fight for the 11th position.
Just got to start to wonder what's going on with his machine as he's qualified so well. Maybe the dirty air is not helping his machine drive as well as he thought it was going to be.
Well, just inside of the top 10 is Mitch Welker trying to hold off the 28 of Nicholas Johnston. That's 9th and 10th place. And a step out of line there. That's Robert Hall actually going to make a pass on Johnston. That actually moves Hall up into the top 10 now. Crossover. Johnston wants the spot back. Tucks back in line.
You know, a car that took off like a rocket ship once he got in the lead, it's going to be Andrew Wood. I don't know what happened to Danny Roberts, but he lost so much time, and he might lose second to Connor Horn.
We saw a couple of cars on the last couple of laps look like they kind of got out of shape when we, for a moment ago, were on board with, I think it was the back camera on the 67 of Connor Horn. Looked like that car got really loose in the center of the corner. So I think we're in the point of the race now where these tires have definitely warmed up. We know we got the hot track conditions. We're starting to see now where drivers are losing the grip they had at the initial drop of the green flag.
Looking back for the battle for 5th. We got John Poole going up against Riley Thompson. As Riley Thompson starts to fade back.
Yeah, John Poole the third. We've seen him in a past broadcast in an IndyCar when he was in the Elite Racing League Indy 500 qualifying. We actually got to talk with him there as well, and so obviously he knows how to get these cars around the racetrack and proving it right here. Looks like, at least for the moment, with the exception of Andrew Wood, who's been able to check out to a 2nd and 3/10, it's like maybe John Poole's got the fastest car here on the long run. The driver that's now working his way up there, he just actually made a pass for 7th.
A caution.
Mitch Welker. Oh, it is. You're right. First caution. Taps in or around there. So obviously this is going to probably draw everyone to pit road. And it might have been the 2 caution of Cal Filarski. We'll wait and see if it was him or not. He's currently sitting on pit road.
Looks like it actually might be the 40 machine.
It would be Zach Buchanan.
Got a little loose coming off of turn number 4 and spins it around, luckily not hitting the wall.
You're exactly right. We'll get a look here on the replay. The good news for him, too, was he crossed the line after that caution came out in 14th place. So that is where he currently is running under pacing.
I mean, we were starting to see a lot of these guys, they were losing grip. The car was starting to step out under them. And you finally saw one of the cars finally get loose. He did touch the white line, which was that danger spot I was talking about. Once your tires get loose and are finally shot, your car just wants to take off once it gets below that line or even on top of it.
It's like he was side by side at the time for around the 10th position with Nicholas Johnston. And it was kind of hard to tell if Johnston may have taken a little of draft off the side of the 40 or not. But yeah, definitely got his left sides down in that white line too.
As everyone's coming down to pit road to get some new fresh rubber.
We'll see if Andrew Wood, if his team can rise to the occasion, get him back out in the race lead, because obviously we saw at the initial start of this race when Riley Thompson had the field in his control how quickly he was able to check out, and Wood will win the battle off pit road. A bit of a photo finish there for second between Roberts and Horn.
Horn looked like he got a massive boost from his team. I mean, that was a great pit stop by them. I thought maybe he could have gotten out before our leader, but did not, and is going to stay in third.
First caution coming out about 27 laps in. Some of these drivers, in terms of those that were falling back, looking like their cars were struggling on the long run, so you got to wonder what kind of adjustments they may have made here under this caution flag. Well, it's time to regroup and try it again. I mean, you know, we saw the initial start, everybody was all close together, and yes, even though the field got spread out, we had some battles here and there, but now everybody's going to be wadded back up, and I think it's single file restarts here, but still, with everybody in close proximity again, you have to think they're going to be of the mentality, okay, we're as close as we are now, things are going to get separated again, I got to pick up as many spots as possible.
I'm just wondering if we're going to be seeing this high line get higher and higher throughout this race, or if we've seen as high as these guys feel comfortable going. I know that during practice, everyone was running pretty low and at that white line, trying to run as low as they can. And it looks like the fastest spot is just above that black line where guys have been running all race. So I'm interested to see if they continue getting higher and higher in these corners, or if they just stay in the middle.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I love the fact we saw a lot of them trying that second and even third groove early on with fresh tires, which says to me they're not going up there because they have to go up there because the tires won't let them run low. They're going up there by choice. They want to see what runs they can get off the corners. And so, you know, what I would typically think of for a track like Motegi, where it might be a one-lane racetrack, these drivers have been able to utilize at least two grooves that we know of and have been able to make up spots as a result.
I think Connor Horn is the man to watch out for. We saw him gain so much time. I mean, he got 5 positions, starting in 8th and now up to 3rd. Another car that has moved up a lot is going to be the 76 machine of Mitch Welker, my bad. He's someone who's gone up 6 positions. So a lot of these guys starting to move up through the pace, through the pack, and we'll see where they end up. But I think those are 2 cars to watch out for.
Probably one of the guys that didn't want to see that caution come out was Andrew Wood, because he was actually gapping himself back to second. Now that brings guys like you mentioned, brings Horn, it brings Welker, John Poole, it brings those guys that seem to be really good in the long run right to his back door again. So he could have company in these next couple of laps when we finally go back green.
It just seems like Andrew Wood likes that longer run. He was quick with these fresher tires, but it looked like Danny Roberts was probably one of the fastest cars during our first stint, and we'll see if he's able to get back into the lead or if he stays in second.
With what we've seen here on the first run before this caution coming out, the ability to be able to make the second and third groove work, do we see drivers on this restart jump up to those lines, or do they wait a couple of laps and bottom feed?
I think some of these guys that have already been up there, I think John Poole the third. He's been running the highest out of all these cars. I think he'll be shooting up to probably the third lane when entering these corners. I think Andrew Woods will probably turn 1 and 2, be in the second groove in the corner, and then stay low like he's been doing. I think some of these guys will probably stay down low, but I think they're just going to stick with what they've been doing as they're getting up high, about to go green.
Flag's going to come out on lap 31. We've got 30 laps completed, 100 laps to go, and Andrew Wood was on it. He's going to open up a gap, at least for the moment, of maybe about 3 to 4 car lengths. Battle looks like it's going to be for second.
Yeah, Connor Horn really got on it. He was right on Danny Roberts' bumper right when they went green. And here they come. They're about to make a pass on the leader. It might be Connor Horn trying to make it 3 wide.
It was tough to tell if Wood was just slow through 2 or if the duo of Roberts and Horn together were able to draft back up to him, but they got a huge run on him. And here comes Roberts to the top side for the top position.
This isn't where Woods really wants to be. He doesn't really, his car isn't the fastest one at the bottom, but as you can tell, he's pulling away. What type of run will Danny Roberts get here?
A 4-horse race as the pole sitter Riley Thompson enters the fray. 2 cars on the bottom, 2 cars on the top, heading into 3.
With that arc that Roberts had, it kind of shut down Horn. He wasn't able to put his nose in there to go 3 wide as Thompson's about to make a move on third.
All right there, Andrew Wood moving to the inside line. I think that was for twofold. One, he wanted to take away any opportunity for Roberts to draft off of him. Number 2, he wanted to be the car on the bottom going through 1 and 2. He'll hold the lead still for the moment.
I'm super impressed by the fact that Andrew Woods has been staying this strong. It kind of feels like Roberts is shutting down Horn from going anywhere that he wants to go as he's blocking the outside on 3 and 4. But these guys are all closing up, which is even allowing the guys in 5th and 6th to even come back into this.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's kind of like the top 3 are stalling each other out. Roberts tries to make the move, then he loses momentum off the corner. He ducks low, and that kills the momentum of Connor Horn, who made a heck of a move to the outside there. Battle for second, maybe for the race lead. Look at the top, way up top side. That is the 39 of Will Roberts. He was almost up into the light gray there and still side by side for the 5th position with Mitch Welker.
Will Roberts was getting blocked by Riley Thompson, and we're seeing that these guys are trying to get to where they want to be, as Danny Roberts is actually able to get to the bottom where he wants to feel comfortable, but it's giving an opportunity for Connor Horn gets around.
Contact, and they're gonna wreck the top 2. Kind of saw that was gonna happen.
They were all on top of each other, and Horn, he was trying to make a move, but Roberts tried to block it. There just wasn't space. He was already there.
We were on board at the time that Connor Horn was making the move, and you could see he jerked the car to the left. I mean, these cars kind of float on the straightaways, so it's almost like you're not even in control of the race car. Watch right here on this onboard. See how he jerks it there to the left, tries to correct it back to the right. Just did not gauge it correctly going into the corner, as you mentioned. Unfortunately, he got into the back of the race leader, and boy, that is a tough break for 2 cars that really looked like they were going to, probably when we got to the closing stages, be contender for this win.
Yeah, rewatching it, I mean, we've been seeing Danny Roberts, I mean, he's been doing that move where he's arcing in so much higher than everyone else. And I think he just wasn't expecting to see Horn at the bottom like he was on that arc.
We mentioned at top of the program, these cars carry so much speed into the corner. A hit into that safer barrier, it's almost an automatic DNF, and both cars, both Horn and Roberts, hit that outside wall pretty doggone good. Well, that will, I would assume, take Roberts out of the race. Looks like they're going to try and repair Connor Horn's machine, but I don't know how up to speed that car is going to be.
Yeah, it looks like
so now
Roberts is getting
that's
towed.
That's going to give the lead over to Thompson?
It's going to be giving it to Andrew Wood.
Wood wins the battle off of pit road. I think at this stage, with seeing what we just saw right there with fresh tires, the moves that were being made, the racing all the way through the top 6, top 7, I think if we end up having continuation of cautions, you're going to see everybody come to pit road and want those fresh rubber.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be for sure seeing that.
Like the 59 of Evan Adams actually stayed out to lead a lap. He will probably be coming to pit road this time, which would turn the lead back over to Andrew Wood. But boy, what a tough break there for Connor Horn and Danny Roberts. A couple of guys that were battling hard for that race lead, and just like that, we haven't even gotten to the halfway point, and it looks like the both of them are going to be out of this race. Roberts has already taken his car to the garage. I think they're still trying to repair the 67, but I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to do to keep him competitive.
Yeah, with how aggressive these guys were after the start, I mean, the top three were just battling back and forth. And you thought maybe with Danny Roberts finally getting into the lead, that Connor Horn would probably try to make a move, and then things would start to stall out, but we never got to really that stall point. These guys were just racing so hard for so long. You didn't know if they were going to make a mistake like they did, or if we finally were going to get everything straightened out. And I'm curious to see if they are going to stay just as aggressive, because it seems like they can be, or if they're going to try to take it slow until we get to the end of the race.
Just to be clear, too, for people watching, Roberts did not block Horn, and Horn did not dump Roberts. It was really just two cars had two different ideas of how they wanted to enter into the corner, and unfortunately, the both of them were looking at the same piece of real estate. And the hitboxes on these machines as well it's so difficult sometimes to gauge, especially with the speeds these drivers are at. You have to have a split second reaction time, and sometimes the reaction is just too late.
Oh, especially with these machines. I mean, these IndyCar machines are going so fast that it is hard to really gauge when you're coming in, closing on someone or not. And it happens. This is a racing mistake that happens, and it's an accident that we're going to see throughout probably most of the season.
Absolutely. So Andrew Wood, who had lost the lead at the time of that wreck, fell back to third. And then, before he knows it, he's back up in the race lead again, but he's going to have Riley Thompson on his back bumper. Will Roberts going to line up in third. John Poole now fourth. Mitch Welker fifth. Rest of the top 10 now are going to be Thomas Brezzi, Nicholas Johnston, Kite Brommersbach, Robert Hall, and Zach Buchanan, who brought out the first caution.
Yeah, Mitch Welker, he's started 12th, now up to 5th, made it to the top 5. He's someone that I was talking about earlier that was making a move up, just like Connor Horn was. And we'll see if he's able to make his way up to the top 3. I think on this restart, a car to watch out for is going to be Riley Thompson to come for the lead. And also Will Roberts, he had a ton of speed and looked like he was getting blocked by Riley Thompson a lot during that last run. So we'll see if Will Roberts is going to be able to get into the lead and battle it out for Andrew Wood.
To your point with Mitch Welker, I was watching him on that last run. He seemed to be one of the few guys that was making a lot of passes on the bottom of the racetrack. We've seen a lot of drivers migrate up to the second and third groove on the high side, but Welker's been able to get good exit speed off the inside of the corner.
As the pace car rolls off and we go green as Andrew Wood takes them across the line.
A ways to go before we hit the halfway point of this race. Wood again on it on the start. He's going to drive away, but remember, we saw second and third on the last restart work together to draft back up to him. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case here. Roberts wants second from Thompson.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about on this last run. Will Roberts was just trying to get by Riley Thompson. It looks like he might be able to do it, or will Thompson use the leader as a pick to try to get by?
That's the second time that Wood's gotten a good start, but then second and third have been on his back bumper going into turn 3. I almost wonder if it's a disadvantage to get that big of a gap between yourself and the rest of the field.
Will Roberts wants to get in the lead as he drops it down below, and it really, back to your point, yeah, it kind of is a disadvantage to get so much of a lead, because coming off the corner, these cars are getting such a run that it looks like they close up so much faster on Woods than you would actually think that anyone else would.
Roberts almost had Wood cleared off of 4, but Wood was there on the top side, so Roberts had to move back down. Now he gets him cleared, and now the battle looks like it might be for second. No, Wood gets another good run down the back straightaway. He's going to challenge for the lead again. Look at the run!
Cow!
Brezzi on the bottom, almost 3 wide. He went from 5th now almost up to 3rd.
Brezzi just throwing it down to the bottom, and it sticks. Let's see if he's going to try that again. Oh my goodness, what a move.
That was a move, my goodness. I thought he was going to slide up the track, but he's able to move at least into 4th. Now he's got John Poole going around on the outside for the 4th position. Nicholas Johnson now looking for 5th, so that move he made on the inside looked pretty impressive, but now looks like that car is having a little bit of difficulty getting the corner exit speed.
It looks like everyone's just trying to get bottled up back there. As in the lead, you got Will Roberts pulling away slightly as Riley Thompson is trying to get by Andrew Wood.
Good, trying to see if he can run the same line as Thompson, take away any opportunity through the corner, but then try and break the draft down the straightaway. Got a battle for second, battle for 4th brewing here, and then we got about 5-6 cars all in the same vicinity for around the 7th position. That's where you find Brommersbach, Welker, Brezzi, Robert Hall, 3 wide back there. That was, I believe, Zach Buchanan taking them 3 wide into turn 1.
That was, and Thomas Brezzi's got to be moving back. He backs off because it was going 3 wide into turn number 1.
Robert Hall there involved in that battle as well. There's a move there being made. Riley Thompson looking to the inside of Andrew Wood. Can't quite get the corner exit. And John Poole III and Nicholas Johnston, they were back around 7th and 8th on that restart. They're now up to 4th and 5th.
It's just these restarts are allowing so much chances for these guys to make big moves as they're trying to still battling out with these 3 cars for 8th place.
Robert Hall, Zach Buchanan side by side for 7th. You've got Brezzi there as well. He's looking to maybe shoot up the middle. Nope, instead we'll go to the top side, following in the tire tracks of Hall. And as that's going on, just outside the top 10, you've got some good battling going on. You got Takeshi Kita, Liam Quinn, Rodrigo Munoz. Those guys, they're all in a battle, about 5 of them there, from about the 11th spot back to 15th.
It's so hard to watch all the action because it's everywhere on track as the top 4 are about staying in line and not really making any move at the moment.
It's actually really smart on their part, because if they can remain single file, that's going to allow them to start pulling away from the rest of the field and maybe make it only a 4-man race at the front. They haven't really shaken Nicholas Johnson, though. He's still there in 5th, so it may end up being 5 cars being able to pull away if they're able to gap themselves back to Mitch Welker, currently holding down 6th.
Looking around, it looks like everyone's starting to just get in line and starting to just run laps. And around this time was when Andrew Wood was starting to figure out his car and was getting the pace to pull away from the pack. And we'll see if he's able to catch Will Roberts, who is just trying to pull away. As Andrew Wood gets a huge run off of turn number 2.
So Nick Johnson currently up here in the 4th position as he's now taking the spot from John Poole. You know, he actually turned a lot of heads. He was a rookie last season, and he actually had a victory at Charlotte Roval. He ran up front in a lot of races like Texas, Montreal, Gateway, Watkins Glen. And then during the Lights series that was during the offseason, he took the title home with a bunch of victories at Phoenix, Mid-Ohio, and Pocono. And I'm looking at specifically Phoenix. You could kind of maybe see a little bit of similarities in terms of banking into these corners to ISM. So not a surprise to see him running up here inside the top 5.
Not at all, as they are running super clean up front. Looking back throughout the pack, they're still all in line. I think the next battle that we're going to be seeing is probably the battle for 13th, where they were side by side for a second there.
We may end up having a battle brewing for, I believe that was the 12th position. Rita trying to get by Rodrigo Munoz, so a little international flair there between those two racing for the 12th position. Cohen Evans there as well in the 17, running in 14th. Scott Taylor right behind him in 15th place. And The one thing I'm noticing here is, we're talking about these guys outside of the top 10, but there's a long way still to go in this race. We've seen a wreck that took out the top 2 at the time, so some of these guys we're seeing running back here, we can't rest on them because depending on what happens in these final 80 laps or so, they could be up here at the front battling for a win.
Oh, completely. If there's another caution, it allows them to have a chance. I'm interested to see if we're able to get a long green flag run, to have a green flag pit stop for these cars. If we get to that point, I think that's when we're going to see a lot of different pit strategies, if some people trying to short pit or not, to make it all the way to the end.
Bliss Johnston is all over the 56 of Riley Thompson for the 3rd spot. Looks like he's going to try and clear him out of 4, and he will succeed in doing so. So Johnston now cracks the podium. Thompson might be looking back in his rearview mirror and seeing John Poole the 3rd looming large. But I'll tell you what, that 28 car has not let the top 2 get away, and right now looks like he is the car up in the top 5 making moves.
Yeah, Riley Thompson, it doesn't look like he has a long run car. He looks very strong for the first about 10 to 15 laps. And then after that, his car just decides to just drop off, and it just doesn't have the speed. While the 28, on the other hand, looks like it's got a ton of speed as he's battling for 2nd.
2 laps after he got around Thompson for 3rd, he's going to take the 2nd spot away from Andrew Wood. Well, not quite. Doesn't have him cleared off of turn 2 just yet. And you got right there, Will Roberts actually having to make his way around a slower machine. Used him for a little bit of draft, and then darks out of line. That's going to allow him to open up a little bit of an advantage over Wood, who did hang on to 2nd place.
Yeah, that is going to be Mike Hurley, who's going to be going 3 laps down as he drops back.
So got another car that has fallen multiple laps down, the 40 of Zach Buchanan, who was up inside of the top 10 when we last went back green. So we currently have 20 cars still running on the lead lap. Brent Jones, the last of those, but I think he's pretty close to maybe be put a lap down in the next couple of laps, as he is 15 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, it's about 30 seconds when you'll see cars getting a lap down. So he's still got a couple more laps before he gets any real danger.
Battle for 3rd. Oh, and there's a yellow. 3rd caution of the day, and I believe it was the 09 of Rodrigo Munoz that brought out this yellow.
I was interested to see why the 40 car was so many laps down and in pit road. It looks like that he did get into the wall around lap 57, and that is why he had to go into the pits.
Right there for Zach Buchanan. He has now fallen 5 laps down to the race leader. Let's see what brought out the yellow flag. Munoz was running up inside the top 15 when we last saw him.
It looks like he got the wall bad. It's coming off the corner.
See right there, a little contact with, I believe that was Cohen Evans in the 17. Extensive damage to that car, especially on the left front. I believe the left front wing was completely ripped off that car.
Yeah, it's completely the left side that smashed into the wall, so there's damage on the left wing, back and front. So it looks like his day is going to be a little rough for the rest of the evening. And the leader is coming to the pits. We'll see who wins off pit road.
Andrew Wood's team has been really good on pit lane so far. But then again, both times he's come down pit road and left as the leader, he came down the leader. Now he comes down in 2nd, so we'll see if his team can rise to the occasion, pick him up an extra spot on pit road over Will Roberts.
As Andrew Wood and Will Roberts are right next to one another. Woods is going to get through. Looks like Andrew Wood gets by, and Will Roberts is going to lose 3 positions on pit road.
Wood off pit road in a photo finish with Nicholas Johnston. Johnston's going to be 2nd, and then it was a photo finish battle for 3rd. Thompson wins out over Roberts, so 3 spots lost by the 39 team. And I think I'd be a little bit worried about that if I'm Will Roberts, just on the fact that with him restarting, or with him being out in front when that caution came out, he hadn't really gapped the field. So I don't think he had the best of a long run car. Now he's got to fight his way back to the front.
Yeah, but we've seen him fight through from about the same position, and he was able to get by. So we're going to see him do a great battle here. I think the 28 car and the 32 are the ones to watch out for if we go for another long run. And Riley Thompson's going to have to make another run here for the lead in this short pace here, because he doesn't have a long run car. He hasn't been able to show it at all this race, so he's got to make all the moves he can right now.
Caution, that pit stop shuffled things up, not only in the first half of the top 10, but also the second half. It's going to be Wood the leader, Johnston second, Thompson third, Roberts fourth, Poole in fifth. Sixth is Mitch Welker, seventh Robert Hall, and then a couple of guys have jumped up there into the top 10. Kite Brommersbach now in the 8th position, Liam Quinn in 9th, and how about Takeshi Kita now up inside the top 10 for the first time today?
Yeah, he's moved up 7 positions, which is a great move for him. Top 10, I mean, we're seeing some of these cars that are dropping out, so it's allowing these guys that have been running in the middle or the back of the pack to finally get up some positions and start to make moves for the front.
With that caution coming out, Rodrigo Munoz currently is getting repairs done to his car, but we are currently sitting with 19 cars still currently on the lead lap and still in the running for this victory. The other important thing is we have still not reached halfway in this race. I think we actually will be back green before halfway, which would be the completion of lap 65. So these guys still have a long ways to go in this race. Still have the potentiality. Do you think that they're going to have to maybe strategize for a green flag pit stop, or do you think they might have enough to make it the rest of the way now with a little less than 70 laps?
With how much these tires have been dropping off, I mean, I think they possibly have to make at least one more pit stop. But with the way that fuel is, they might be able to stretch it from here on out.
Far, we have had 3 cautions in the first 60 laps, so we haven't gotten into a full fuel run. Not certain just how far these drivers can go before having to come to pit lane. But to your point, might be one of those type of races where it might come down to needing tires sooner than you need fuel. Are out on the pace car. We're going to be going back green flag racing on lap 63. A long ways to go in this one, but we have seen some unbelievable racing all the way through the field. And the one thing that we know is an absolute certainty: the closer we get to the checkered flag, the more aggressive these drivers are going to be.
Oh yeah, you thought that we've been seeing the most aggressive these drivers are going to be. We have not. And I'm interested. I mean, we've seen it every single restart so far of Andrew Wood getting that huge start at the start here, and then the back second and third are able to catch him coming off of turn 2. So, are we going to see the same thing, or is Andrew Wood going to let off a little bit and not take off immediately?
I'm not exactly sure if there is a right strategy with having Nicholas Johnston in second, because he was making moves on that last run. So I think even if he does back the 28 car up, Johnston's going to have enough power to get around him for the race lead.
These top 4 or 5, they've been on top of each other all past 25 laps as we go green. Andrew Wood going to be trying to make some moves, but he didn't get as good as a restart as we've seen him get, as Nicholas Johnston's going to be staying on him, going on the high side, coming out of turn number 2.
To get that outside run on the straightaway, will he try crossing over? No, he stays on the outside, and 3 wide perhaps, as Riley Thompson thought about it. Got blocked, though, by the 28 of Johnston, and Wood's still going to clear and keep the top spot.
As he's trying to snake, but Johnston's going to be drafting down the back, coming down the front stretch, going high into turn number 1.
You see the cars just jerk to the left there, snaking their way down the front straightaway. Ooh. And they're going to be pretty close for third between Roberts and Thompson. And oh my goodness, I thought maybe Poole was going to hook the 39 on the back straightaway.
These guys have amazing control with the downforce on these vehicles, but they are throwing it everywhere as they are just darting, bobbing, and weaving everywhere, trying to get as much speed as they can, or just drafting behind someone down these front and back stretches.
Johnston right up there on the border of the dark gray and the light gray, trying to find something to give him a run here on the back straightaway. Look at Wood throwing the block, and Johnston says, all right, I'll take the outside line there through the corner.
What was interesting to see there was you had the top 2 at the bottom, and everyone else just stayed up high. They were all drafting, trying to get by the 2 that were just racing down at the bottom line.
Roberts, again, I don't know if he got blocked or if he went up there of his own accord, went way up the racetrack. Look at Thompson. He took the third lane through one, and he's going to try and challenge for second. Here comes Poole up the middle. But there, it's a four-way battle there. Four drivers, four different lines.
We're 2 by 2 by 2, battling all around back to 6th place.
Down there on the bottom in that white and green machine. He's got Will Roberts to the top side. That's the battle for 5th. It now settles down. Battle for 3rd settles down. The battle for the lead is still on, though. Johnston continuing to try and find a way around Wood. Gets to the top side again on the back straightaway.
As we're seeing Poole now up to 3rd. He's been slowly moving up. He started this new restart at 5th, and now he's up to 3rd, maybe losing it to Will Roberts.
He moved up maybe a little bit too high. I think he was waiting to see if he could maybe get a 3rd lane going against the top 2. It's going to cost him at least the 3rd position. Roberts moves by for that spot. Poole tries to tuck in 4th ahead of Thompson, succeeds in doing so. And while all this has been going on with the top 6, Robert Hall is looming there in 7th. You got 7 cars in this lead pack.
Robert Hall, Mitch Welker. I mean, these two, they both started back in the pack, but they are now up here battling for the top 6.
Johnston continuing to try that top side. He knows Wood's not going to give him the inside, so he's got no choice. He has to try that second groove. Poole gets a run on him. Roberts gets a run on Poole. Everybody getting huge runs on everybody else and then having to figure out, where do I take this momentum?
These top 7 cars, you could put a blanket over all of them, and they are down on the backstretch trying to run every single line they can to get every single inch that they possibly can get, as they're now finally straight, but not for long, as there goes Johnson going on the bottom, trying to make the lead, and that was a power move right there, but will it stick?
It might stick, and he's going to have some drafting help there as well on the bottom. Wow! How about Will Roberts? Talk about wanting a restrictor plate spotter. Probably told him clear. He just barely fit in where a car could.
I think they're figuring out that maybe the high side isn't the strongest anymore, that maybe the bottom through 1 and 2 is where you want to be. As you saw Nicholas Johnston going for the lead off that last lap, and Robert Woods now trying to make a pass on the outside, but will that stick this time? I don't think so. I think he might lose 3rd.
No, actually, and that's going to actually open the door for Poole to go to the outside. Meanwhile, Roberts dives it in deep into 3, slides it up the track. It's going to be Johnston trying to cross over. Can't quite do it. That was a power move by the 39.
I mean, he's trying to throw it down like it's a dirt track, but if you throw it down, you might not have enough speed coming off that corner, as we saw, as Johnston's going to take the lead back.
Incredible racing going on here in this top 7. They actually are about to add an 8th driver into this pack, as Kite Brommersbach is actually starting to close in on these guys. The one thing that worries me, though, we saw what happened earlier between the top 2, Horn and Roberts at the time. The 2 of them wrecked from 1st and 2nd. I'd hate to see that happen to these guys, but the way they're racing, we may see it again.
I'm just doing a little quick peek throughout the rest of the field, as they're slightly all in line. The only battle that's back here is the battle for, looks like 17th and 18th, but there's just a 3-car battle is up front. We've got 7 to 8 cars all battling for the lead.
Brommersbach has joined the group, so now 8 drivers up in this lead group, all separated by a little more than a second. It's about 1.1 seconds from 1st back to 8th. To your point, you could throw a blanket over him, and that's close quarter racing there between the Johnston and Wood.
You would think that they are just, I mean, obviously they are liking the race with fresher tires because they're able to throw it everywhere. But we have just been green for about 10 laps now, and we've been past the halfway marker. This is where cars, you got to make it to the end now. I mean, you could be as aggressive as you want right here, but is this aggression necessary right now, or should they be relaxing?
I certainly would think that you want to keep the car at least in one piece until you get to about maybe 20 to go, so you have a shot at the win. But again, for some of these guys, maybe what they're doing right now, they're kind of doing some homework, figuring out, okay, if I'm in this situation with 10 laps to go, what kind of a car have I got? What kind of moves can I make? But then again, it's awfully risky. And one thing I'm noticing they're doing now that they didn't do in the first half of this race, they're testing out just how much space they can give each other for side drafting. They've been pretty close to each other in the corners, not giving nearly as much room, and that's starting to worry me as well.
It looks like Will Roberts going into turn 1 that last time is dropping it a lot sooner than a lot of other cars are. I mean, he's going into turn 1 so much lower than everyone else. And he's
He's taking
away.
the Thomas Brezzi line, it seems.
Yeah, it looks like it's working at the moment, as he's also just taking the high side. I mean, entering turn 3 and 4 like any normal line, but that entry to turn 1 and 2, it's so much different, and it's giving him so much more space than everyone else.
He's also getting help because they have been battling hard for second between Johnston and Wood, and they actually almost just wrecked in turn 3 that last lap. Wood got awfully tight, almost slid up into the left rear quarter panel of Johnston. Those two dodged a bullet.
Mitch Welker is moving up as he goes into 4th. Started back in 12th and now up to 4th. Mitch Welker, he's making his moves.
He is, and he, as we saw a couple of cautions ago, was one of the few guys that was actually able to make passes on the inside of the racetrack. And he is closing in here on 2nd and 3rd, trying to see if maybe he's going to have a shot to get up there with Will Roberts. Now, I'm noticing, we saw Roberts gap himself pretty well. All of a sudden, that gap he had, it's going away. I think that's because second place battle was kind of calmed down, but now it's back on, so maybe he'll begin to pull away again.
On that first stretch, we were seeing that Andrew Wood was starting to pull away from everyone else when we were about 20 laps into that run. And we're getting close to where that 20 laps was, and he might be trying to make moves to get back to second and battle for the lead. But he's got to get by Nicholas Johnson as he throws it down into the bottom.
Actually surprised, too, that we're seeing Johnston under fire from Wood here, because back on the last green flag run, it was Johnston making moves. And I thought probably he'd be able to get away from the 32 and start running down Will Roberts. That has not been the case.
I think back then, though, it was about 15 laps that were in, where at 15 laps during this run, he was faster. But now that we're about 20 laps into this run, looks like things might be changing, as these guys, I mean, they were battling so hard. How much tire wear do they have left? As we're seeing Mitch closing on to 3rd.
Yes, he is. He took that inside line there through 3 and 4, as the 32 of Wood took the outside line and Welker closed in. And now actually you've got Riley Thompson closing in here as well. Thompson, who wasn't exactly the best on the long run in the first 2 green flag runs we had, all of a sudden it looks like he's got a bit of a long run car late.
Another car just looking at the back of the pack, seeing moves that people are making. The 95 machine of Scott Taylor started 21st, now up to 11th. He's gained himself 10 positions throughout this race, as he is starting to get under fire from the 17 machine of Coney Evans.
When Evans there, they got just ahead of them the 4 of Liam Quinn. That's a battle right now for the 10th position amongst those 3. And Takeshi Kita trying to close in as well, along with Cristobal Venezuela. Up towards the front, though, the battle continues on for that 2nd position. It is going on about 9/10 of a second behind the race leader, Will Roberts. So Will's looking in his rearview mirror. He's loving what he's seeing. The thing I was wondering is if Wood and Johnston were able to kind of put aside their differences, get nose to tail, they probably would be able to reel Roberts back in with the 2-car draft. But how difficult would that be for Johnston to keep from running over Wood if they're both running the same line through the corner?
Well, it looks like Andrew Wood finally got by, and he's slowly pulling away. Except for Johnston's going to throw it down to see if he can make it side by side.
Of course, right now, with these guys racing the way they are from second on back, I would assume there's no way that they're thinking about saving tires. They're all running different lines. They're all trying to use the slipstream, trying to use slingshots to make passes for position. So if you're someone like Will Roberts out there in front, what's your strategy right now in terms of trying to conserve what's underneath you, but at the same time maintaining the gap back to second place?
I mean, at this point, you just got to go as strong as you can, because these guys back here are not trying to save at all. I think the person that could be saving, if any, fuel would be the guy, if it's going to be like John Poole, who's been in the back of the pack of this line. He's in the back, so he possibly could be saving fuel being in the draft longer than anyone else. But tire-wise, I mean, he was part of the action in the start of this run. So I don't know if he really has the tires. Mitch Welker, he's also someone that was in the draft for most of this run. A lot of these guys were in the draft, so they'll probably have better fuel mileage than Will Roberts. But the tire-wise, I don't know if they'll have it.
Great point. You see right there, Mitch Welker still running it down on the very inside line of the track. And normally when the tires start to go away, drivers migrate more towards the middle to outside lines, but Welker continuing to hook the bottom. A couple of other guys are doing the same. Riley Thompson and Kite Brummersbach have all been running down that inside line. And boy, this battle for second, my goodness, every time one of them steps out of line on the other, my heart jumps because I'm afraid I'm going to see one of them hooked up into the wall.
Yeah, you got the battle for second. That's the constantly. We're just seeing Nicholas Johnston just throw his car down there, and it looks like it might stick this time. But Woods might be getting the run here off a turn. Turn number 4.
Right now, you've got a number of teammates that are up here inside of the top 10. Race leader Will Roberts, Nicholas Johnson, Mitch Welker, Kite Brummersbach. They're all teammates out of the same stable of Project 2. So you got to wonder that maybe, just maybe, Nicholas Johnson's putting the pressure on Andrew Wood to take the pressure off his teammate Will Roberts in the lead.
That was the closest I've seen them get, as Nicholas Johnson almost completely removed his front bumper and wing. He was so close to the back end of Andrew Wood right there in turn 3 and 4.
Second position as a result. Now Wood back in third. Let's see how he's going to handle how he was raced. Oh my goodness. Johnston throwing the block on him out of 2 onto the back straightaway. These two have been having a hot and heavy battle with the last 20 laps or so. Now Riley Thompson says, hey, I want to play. He wants to make it a 3-man fight for the runner-up spot.
Man, these guys just don't know how to slow down. They just continue to be right on top of one another, just flicking their cars wherever they want. And luckily it's sticking.
One thing about IndyCars and IndyCar racing, it's really all about momentum. You lift, you're basically giving up 1, 2, 3 spots on the track. You got to keep your foot in the throttle and just find some open space to put your race car. But sometimes, like we saw earlier on, you put your car in just the wrong spot, you make contact with somebody else, it could be the end of your day. And boy, Wood, a power move there, going to get around. Oh, Johnston, no. Johnston's going to cross him over going into 3.
As Riley Thompson is coming in, he's caught these guys. And with them being side by side and being so aggressive, it's allowing this 56 to have a chance to battle it out with them.
At the same time, though, amazingly enough, we're seeing this 3-way battle going on for second, and they're actually reeling in the race leader. It was about 9/10 of a second a few laps ago. It's now down to 7/10, and that was a close call there between those two, and Thompson got a good view of it.
Oh, yeah, that 28 car just got a little stepped out and almost got himself into Wood.
Going to cross over. Good run out of 4, looking for second spot as well. And I think for the moment, I think Thompson's pretty satisfied with where he is. He doesn't really want to get involved in this because I think he's thinking the same thing we're thinking. There could be a wreck for the second position.
Well, we've been having a really long green flag run, and that means pit stops. Cars are coming in for the pits, as a ton of machines are coming in from the lead pack. You got Mitch Welkers came in, and a ton of other machines have come into the pits. So green flag pit stops are underway.
Thomas Brezzi, Scott Taylor, Tyler Hensley has hit pit road. Dakota DiCienzo is in, as well as the 4 of Liam Quinn. They've all made pit stops here as the cycles have begun.
These cars that are battling for a second are still on top of each other. As Riley Thompson almost got into, looks like Nicholas Johnston, but they're still keeping it clean for now.
It'll be interesting to see the difference between old tires and fresh tires as Robert Hall in the 30 has now hit pit lane, because Mitch Welker, I believe, was running in the 6th position when these pit stops began. Be interesting to see where he cycles around when the pit stops complete.
All right, so the leaders are running about right now.
Nicholas Johnston is in the 28.
Will Roberts is running about a 27.6, and Mitch Welker just ran a 27.2. So that's
a 10th he's making up.
4/10 around this track. And, I mean, he pitted before the leaders did, before this front group did, so that could give him a couple of tenths on gaining these guys, so short pitting just slightly. But this is our final pit stop, it looks like, for these drivers. This should take them to the end, or for these guys that are short pitting, it could be close, as Will Roberts is still running laps. So they came in around lap, I think it was 64, 63.
63, yeah.
As Will Roberts is coming in now.
Lee Thompson's going to follow. Kite Brommersbach is going to stay out an extra lap, as will John Poole III.
So this should be the last pit stop for all these guys unless we have a caution.
First two, this is what we would consider the money stop. You cannot have any mistakes, because I think we could safely say, with what we've seen here today, if you end up getting yourself a penalty on pit road and this thing goes green to the end, it takes you out of the running of a victory.
So we saw Will Roberts coming into the pits. He was ahead of Riley Thompson, and he does stay in front of him. So a better pit stop than they had last time, where he lost 3 positions. He now keeps the position that he was in. We'll see where he cycles out, as the number 1 machine is still in the lead.
I believe both Kite Brommersbach and John Poole III actually were at the tail end of the lead pack, like you pointed out, may have been saving a little bit extra fuel to stay out a little bit longer. I believe we are currently waiting for our remaining 6 drivers to pit. Takeshi Kita is still out there. Hugo Gallas is still out there. Brent Jones and Evan Adams, rather, are still yet to hit pit lane.
Brommersbach and John Poole were part of that lead pack, so them staying out a little bit longer than everyone else could help them in the long run. But at the same time, they're going to lose the time that they're gaining. They could be losing with all these cars getting fresher tires, so that means they're running faster laps than what they're running.
This 4-way battle we're looking at is theoretically for the second position when the pit stops cycle around. Mitch Welker, Will Roberts, Riley Thompson, and Nicholas Johnston all there. Right now, Alex Wood is ahead of these guys. Looks like he would be the one to cycle out as the leader when those 6 drivers finally do make their pit stops. But Welker definitely did gain with coming to pit road earlier. He's now up here in this battle for second.
It is so hectic with these 4 cars. They've got cars that are running slower than them, but they are 3 wide going into turn number 1.
Might have been a little contact perhaps there between Roberts and Welker. Fortunately, they both kept it together. That actually allows Riley Thompson to pass the both of them. So now theoretically he would be in second place. Oh, wow. And I think, couldn't tell which car that was, but
looked like
Thompson almost got blocked.
Looked like there was a little bit of contact, because after they got past, the car that went into the wall had a little bit of a dent. So I'm wondering if that's going to affect Rick Thompson at all. I mean, Riley Thompson.
It have been the 43 of Dakota DiCienzo that he made contact with. I'm not certain, but I think there definitely was some contact there, because that car that he passed shot right up the track towards the wall as if he had kind of been punted up there.
I'm actually quite surprised that this 1 machine and the 21 are still out there. I mean, yeah, they were in the back of the pack, that lead pack of cars, for how long that run was. I'm surprised how much longer they're staying out. They're just staying out there for a while, and they're losing time by staying out. As the 21 comes in, 1 machine stays out.
I mean, the only thing I could thinking of that Brommersbach is thinking is maybe get the whole field trapped a lap down if he gets a lucky yellow flag. But to your point, he's losing about 7 to 8 tenths a lap to the guys running behind him. He's running about 27.7s, 21.7.8s to the 27.1s. Robert's running. We got a car up in the wall.
Riley Thompson gets involved, as it's the same car that he just got involved with last time. They touch. It's the 27.
A little payback there, perhaps?
I don't know what happened there as they get involved. But Riley Thompson, that's his race right there.
Really, it is. Yeah, he's going to need a caution to be able to come back out, to be able to get back in this. And it almost looked like right there, like he thought he was clear going into the corner, may have moved up a little too soon and got hooked off the bumper. So actually, I don't think there was payback there. I think it was just a little bit of miscommunication, maybe just not realizing the boundaries of his race car.
As it looks like Andrew Wood would cycle out to be our leader as the one machine is coming out of the pits.
Hugo Galaz is still out there, as is Evan Adams. As soon as they pit, to your point, yep, 32 would be out in front, and right now he has about a 1.7 second gap between himself and Nicholas Johnston. So Johnston would have a lot of work to do. I believe there's actually a lap machine between himself and the 28 there as well.
Johnston is with Will Roberts, so we'll see if they're able to work together or if they're going to battle it out. But Andrew Wood has shown that he has a strong car for the long run. We'll see if these two are able to catch him or not, if the single car is able to stay ahead of the two cars drafting.
Before the pit stops began, as we see Hugo Gallas is on pit road now, we had Will Roberts out in front, and then we had that crazy battling for second between Johnston and Wood. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be those three to maybe settle it out in the closing stages. And I mean, if we saw how Wood and Johnston are willing to race each other with 50 laps to go, I can't imagine how they're going to race each other with 10 laps to go.
Riley Thompson, you hated the way that his race went, but it looks like he is disconnected from the race. It's so frustrating to see how that went down, but the race must go on as Hugo is now going to be going to the pits.
And the race lead has now been handed over to Andrew Wood. So this is now officially the battle for second between Nicholas Johnston and Will Roberts. It's going... Oh, we got a car around on the front straightaway. Caution's out.
Caution out. That is going to be...
the 44, I believe, of Tyler... Or no, I'm sorry, it's the 95, Scott Taylor.
Scott Taylor looked like he was having a great run. He was started 21st, was up to about 12th. And his day looks like it's going to be over coming off of turn number 4 and finishing off his spin at around the finish line.
Boy, he pounded that inside wall pretty good. And boy, the timing of this caution just after green flag pit stops had finished. Less than 20 laps to go. Oh boy.
I think this really saves John Poole and also Brummersmatch. Both of those guys they stayed out for so long hoping that would be the strategy to help them, and it really backfired. They lost a ton of time on these leaders, so it gives them a chance to take a lap and get the pits, get fresher tires, and maybe battle their way back up to the top 5.
Yeah, question about that. I mean, with this being probably maybe 15 laps to go when we get the green flag, maybe less than that, does everybody come back down pit road, put fresh tires on after just being on pit road about 10 laps ago?
I mean, you got to put on fresh tires whenever you come in here. These tires are so important, especially with how aggressive these guys have been racing around. As it looks like Tyler Hensley is going to be disconnecting from the server. It looks like his race will be done. It looked like he just spun out while we were under caution and disconnected. Riley Thompson is disconnected. Brent Jones is in preparing himself, but his race could be over as well. As
right there, the replay of what happened to Scott Taylor.
You know, the two guys have said, maybe they needed this. They stayed out.
If we look at this based on how long they stayed out for, as opposed to everybody else, I would say that for John Poole, he probably got about, actually, we can look here. He's got 7 lap older tires, and Kite Brommersbach has 6 lap older tires. Evan Adams also staying out in the 59. He's got 4 laps on his tires. So, I don't know. Is 7 laps too many to put you at a disadvantage against guys that are just now getting fresh rubber?
I mean, with the strategy that they put out there on the green flag run, they kind of have to stick with this. They were going to be starting around 8th or 9th if they came into the pits. That's if they had a clean pit stop. So with this, they now have position, and they're probably expecting cars to race more aggressive than they were at the first half of this race. So there's a possible chance of a caution causing another caution.
Let's not forget, too, John Poole. He was a contender for the championship last year. Came into the season finale, the points leader by 14 points. Got caught up in a wreck, finished second, 14 points back. So it's a season of redemption for him. And along the lines you're thinking, maybe kind of thinking about the fact, oh, we got a car spinning there, almost hit the pit wall back there. But maybe John Poole is thinking, if I'm out here in the front, I got a better chance of not getting caught up in a wreck that could happen in the mid-pack area.
That car that spun out, would you believe it? It's Will Roberts that spun out.
Oh, wow.
I do not know what happened.
Like I just saw it like vaguely.
It
Up
looked
on
like
the
he
top of the screen, it was like he was
blind.
going to pit, and then he changed his mind, and the thing spun out.
There was a car that came below him, and so he had to quickly evade that car, and luckily he didn't hit anything, but that's going to cost him a position, but he's trying to get the freshest tires he can at the moment. That was such a weird thing to see, as he is back in about 13th, 14th position.
At 14th place. I mean, we've seen him work his way to the front on the last couple of runs, but that was when he restarted back in 5th. Now he's going to have to pass 13 cars here in what's going to be less than 15 laps. Boy, I don't know. He's got a fast car, but I don't know if he's got a fast enough car to do that.
I mean, he's going to be starting in the back of the lead lap car, so he's probably thinking, just get the freshest tires I can get, maybe fresher than anyone else out there, and maybe that will help me get by. Since he's already starting back there, his pits must not helped him with everything that was going on. We'll see, though, if he's able to run through.
It's one of the few guys that we've actually seen go way up the track there in the corners where nobody else has really dared to venture. So if he has found something up there, maybe he can make some really bold moves here in the final stages. But a lot of track position lost and a lot of track position to gain once again in a short amount of time. We'll see what he can do, though. But John Poole III is going to be the control car, and this will be interesting because we really haven't had an opportunity. Everybody, when a caution comes out, they come to pit roads. They've all been on the same level playing field. We've never really been able to gauge old tires versus new tires. Now with our top 3 all out there on 9, 8, and 6 laps respectively, now we're going to get to see if those new tires do make a difference or not.
That we are going to see, as Evan Adams is our biggest gainer at the moment, from 16th to 3rd. So he's trying to get that position as much as he can, try to get his well set up. But I honestly think that we're going to probably see another caution with how aggressive everyone's been running around here. I do not see us going green all the way to the end.
The reason why I think we might be seeing another caution, the 32 and the 28, they're lined up nose to tail in 4th and 5th. We know how they've been racing each other all day long. I don't think their battling is done by any stretch of the imagination. As JP3 gets the green, we're back underway with 14 laps to go.
As John Paul's going to be throwing it down low, and you're going to see everyone snaking by. This is probably the cleanest takeoff we've seen, and really, there's no action to see if anyone's going to really gain on him, as the one machine actually gets a huge run off of 2, but not big enough to really make a pass, but still there.
This battle here for the 3rd position, Evan Adams trying to hold off 2 of the fastest cars of the day, Andrew Wood and Nicholas Johnston. Wood's going to get around the outside, move to 3rd. Johnston now crosses over for 4th. I think those two drivers are going to try and reel in the top 2 here, as it's going to be the one car trying to make a move for the lead into turn 3. He's there side by side.
They're side by side, but here comes Andrew Wood. He has got the speed with these tires and with the draft. We'll see if the 2 cars that are side by side for the lead are able to hold it.
Now Poole and Brommersbach praying that these 13 laps go by quickly, as they are side by side. Wood and Johnston, though, they are reeling them in. And don't count out Mitch Welker. He's now up in 5th, and we know he's had a good car on the long run.
Andrew Wood's going to throw it high, going 3 wide into turn number 3.
Had to take that momentum somewhere. He takes it to the 3rd groove. Not going to be able to get the lead, though. Drops back to 3rd. He'll wind it up, try again. Now crosses to the inside for 2nd on the on the 1 car.
As got to see the 21 going on the bottom, going to go for the lead. Now you got Woods going under the 1 machine, trying to make the pass for 2nd. It looks like it's clean. As Wood going on the high side for the lead, going into number 3.
Dyson and Dyson, as he moves low on Brommersbach, tried to go high on Poole, couldn't do it, and here to his inside comes Johnston in the 28. Those two have now found each other yet again. They're going to work by Poole for first and second. Wood to the lead.
Yeah, the way that Poole came off that corner, I don't know if he hit the wall, but he's lost a ton of momentum there as Wood and Johnston battle it out again as Poole is still trying to hold off Mitch.
Now it seems like the 32 and the 28 have magnets on their cars. They have not been able to get away from each other all race long, and now they find themselves nose to tail again with less than 10 to go. Poole in third, Welker in fourth. Does Welker have a car to get around Poole to make it a three-man fight potentially? Poole's not done yet. He's closed back up on the top two.
Wood trying to hold off, but Poole on the outside with drafting with Mitch. Well, the two are side by side. What's their contact?
There was no doubt about it. There was contact with the right rear of Wood to the left front of Johnston, and I think we're going to see that a time or two before this race is over again.
They almost hit again on the entry of turn one as we are 8 laps to go.
Someone's got to remind these two that we've had the top two wreck already here today. Will these guys be next? Again, they try a side draft. Maybe a little contact again heading into turn 3.
I'm just impressed the fact that Poole is still here. The draft is helping him stay, but will he have anything for the leaders, or will Mitch Welker try to make a pass?
May not have to have anything for the leaders. They may take themselves out of it and give him the win the way they're racing each other. And I've been so impressed about how Johnston's been able to draft right back up to Wood. He keeps being able to get that slingshot to the outside. Here he goes again to 3.
Yeah, but he's getting side by side, but he's not passing him. That's the issue. He's just not being able to get the momentum he needs to get the lead. He's not even getting side by side here at the line. He's got to try to make a move, try to get under Woods if possible.
He keeps going to that top side. I mean, sooner or later, do you think he just says, oh, heck with it, and tries driving it down to the inside line, knowing that more than likely Wood's going to drive down there and try to block him?
Wood's just been holding it strong on the bottom, but Johnston just doesn't have the spacing for it as we are 6 laps to go, coming to 5.
Have now been able to gap themselves a bit back to John Poole the third. About 4 car lengths back now is where you find the 21. So it's really a mano-a-mano right now. Wood and Johnston. Who is going to start out the season with a W? Will it even be either of these drivers? Again, Johnston tries to get the run on the high side, only gets to the quarter panel.
That side, they are not getting as close as they were on that side draft. I wonder if they're realizing, hey, we're getting a little too close here. Let's both try to survive as we are coming to 4 laps to go.
While we got a battle potentially brewing for third place. Mitch Welker trying to find some clean air to get around John Poole the third, trying to see if maybe he's got a chance to get up here and battle with these top two. If you think about it, maybe Poole and Welker are battling for the race win if these two can't make it.
A little update for a car that's been making his moves from 14th, now battling for, it looks like 8th. That's Will Roberts. He's been moving up quite well since this restart.
Definitely has, as he's running out of time, though. 3 laps to go, and he hasn't yet even made it up into the top 5. So tough break there. That little bit of a pit road miscue for Will Roberts, taking him out of the running, as again, I think there was contact between Johnston and Wood, and that time Johnston was able to get a little bit closer to the side of the 32. Lost ground off of 4, though.
They're so close as we're coming to 2 laps to go. They are side by side. I think Johnston has a chance here.
I'm almost wondering if Johnston may not be thinking about clearing the 32. He may be thinking about, all I need is the momentum to be able to get to the start-finish line ahead of Wood.
But here comes Poole, here comes Mitch. They are right there. They have a chance here for second.
Where the heck did Cohen Evans come from? The 17 is now up to 5th. Looks like he's got a car to compete with these guys.
We are on the white flag. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be Woods? Is it going to be Johnston? Or is it going to be someone else as these two are side by side coming off of turn number 2?
At this point in time, it's pick your poison. Nobody's going to lift. Johnson again tries to make the outside line work. Side drafting into 3. Can he get the run through 3 and 4? Here comes Poole to the inside.
They're still side by side. Johnston might have the run here. Here they come across the line.
Oh, it was close. I think Wood got him.
I think so. It was so close.
Ow.
That was Wood.
Was Wood. Andrew Wood. By I don't even know how much it was. Let's see if we can find out the official. Looks like it might have been just 100th.
100th was the difference between those two cars. That was a battle for sure.
My goodness, I mean, it was an unbelievable battle between these two for second before that last caution came out. And then it was just one position higher, the battle for the lead. And credit these guys. I mean, they were beating on each other. They were slingshotting each other. Both made it to the checkers and both raced each other clean coming to that start-finish line.
John Poole with his older tires able to get a third place position and even getting so close that he was under a 10th and was so close to battling out for second and for the lead.
Top three crossing the line, 94 one-thousandths of a second separation. That is the beauty of this type of racing.
That's inches against these cars, inches and feet. I mean, those are so close. That was some fun racing to watch. It's good to see that Andrew Wood and Nicholas Johnston were able to keep it clean, but man, they were right on top of each other for so long.
Yes, they were. Poole, you mentioned there in third. We're looking here at the results. Mitch Welker kept himself in the top 10 all day. He finishes fourth. And I got to say, the where did he come from driver has to be Cohen Evans, because I don't think we really mentioned him at all. I think we mentioned him maybe early on when he was outside the top 15, but my goodness, out of nowhere up to fifth, he was up with that lead pack on the final lap.
Yeah, he actually had one of the biggest moves of the day with 10 positions, started 15th and finished 5th.
That John Poole staying out, finished third. Kite Brommersbach also stayed out in that last caution. He only fell back to sixth, so a great run for him. And Will Roberts, we mentioned him restarting back, I think it was in the 14th position. He managed to work his way up to finish in seventh. Obviously, a little bit of a bittersweet finish, I think, for him, as I think it would have been a three-way battle between himself, Wood, and Johnston had he not had that pit road problem, but still gets a little bit of a positive leading twin ring Motegi.
And just all these cars that were able to make moves. I mean, I think our biggest mover was going to be Dakota in that 43 machine. He gained 11 positions, starting 25th, all the way last, our last car to start, and comes up 14th.
Dakota DiCienzo, I believe he was the last car to finish on the lead lap as well. You see the rest of the top 10 here. Liam Quinn, Thomas Berezzi, Evan Adams, who was, I think, the third driver that stayed out. He manages a top 10. And then the rest of the cars that finished on the lead lap were Cristobal Villanueva, Robert Hall, Hugo Gallows, and as you mentioned, Dakota DiCienzo. The only other driver that finished the race that was a lap down was Takeshi Kita, and then everybody else finished out of the race. And, you know, a couple of hardship drivers here. Riley Thompson, we obviously mentioned, was up in the top 5 all day. The pole sitter got involved in that contact with a lap machine, finishes in the 18th position. And then, of course, you had Connor Horn and Danny Roberts. The two of them were battling for the race lead at the time. Both of them get into each other and wrecked, finishing in the 23rd and 24th positions.
Yeah, Connor Horn and Danny Roberts, for sure, the fastest cars out there. Hopefully we'll see them back next week. But that was some good racing. Hopefully they don't wreck each other out next.
Absolutely, as I believe we have our top 3 standing by. Let's kick things off with our third place finisher, John Poole III. On it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I do got you. What's going on?
Hey, I mean, good grief. I think you probably should have had a bowl of popcorn in your car with you, because you got a pretty good view of what was going on ahead of you. Was there any point that you thought, hey, these guys race each other a little bit harder, I might be able to have something for them, pass them both?
Absolutely. As soon as they started racing like that, I was like, we have a chance here if they get together. But no, they kept it really clean there at the end. Thought I had something out of the last one. I was starting to pull on Andrew and thought we were going to be 3 wide to the line, but just wasn't the case. But you know what? I'll take a top 3 out of this one.
With all the cautions we had, not counting the last one, everybody came to pit road. So we never really got an opportunity to see the difference between older tires and fresher tires. Your tires were 7 laps older than those guys that came to pit lane on the last yellow flag. What was the strategy there? What was in the mindset of thinking maybe these 7 laps I have aren't going to put us at that much of a disadvantage?
Well, normally in all circumstances, I would have came down and pitted. But I took into consideration that we were on a shorter tank. So with these cars, once they have less than half of their fuel in them, they start to handle a lot better on older tires. It's not really much of an advantage to get brand new tires, so I decided to roll the dice. I know I had a teammate with Evan. He also did the same thing along with Kite. It was the right strategy call for that. We didn't really have that many laps on our tires. I mean, the leaders had upwards of 20 laps on their tires, so they were kind of in a box either way. If they stayed out, we would have ate them alive with 10 lap newer tires. But you know, that's you just have to you have to do something to pull the strategy in your favor, and that caution definitely helped out.
If Sam's got any questions here?
Yeah, I mean, on that last green flag run, it looked like you and the one machine were trying to push it as far as you could. Were you pushing it because you had more fuel in the tank, or were you just trying to strategy out?
Are we saying before the caution or after the caution?
Before the caution.
So everybody was pretty much good to the end after that. We just had brand new tires, and of course, there is a little bit of a difference with brand new tires compared to really old tires. So we were just trying to make up the ground that we lost. So we were just trying to go through the field as fast as possible, hoping possibly there would be a caution. But we got the caution at the right time, and that's what allowed us to pull the strategy that we did.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your third place run here today at Motegi. We're going to hand the microphone over to you, give you the opportunity to do some shout outs.
Alrighty. Got to thank you, Seth, for putting on the broadcast, coming on board for the IndyCar series full time. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys do. You will get some really good racing, I do promise you. I don't know if tonight was a precursor to that, but yeah, hoping for that. Got to thank Cosman again from Splash and Go. He does all my paint schemes, and he does incredible work. Got to thank Will and the admin staff as well for putting this on and getting everything sorted out. I know I'm kind of an admin behind the scenes with the rules and such like that, but thank those guys like Evan and Will for doing race control and that sort of thing this evening.
All right. Well, obviously, we thank you for putting on such a great show here tonight as well. And looking forward to seeing if maybe we'll be talking to you next week at WeatherTech Raceway.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
All right, let's bring in second place finisher Nick Johnston. It's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yep.
Okay, so let's first off talk about the racing between you and Wood before that last caution came out, because my goodness, it looked like even then you guys were battling for the win. The way that you were racing each other and doing the slingshots, was that just sizing each other up just in case the two of you were battling it out in the closing stages?
Well, I knew it was going to be between Wood, Poole, Roberts, Wilker, and myself there at the end. So I knew he was going to be one of the guys to beat. So I wanted to see if I could, like you said, size him up and figure out a way to get around him. A couple times I was successful, learned some things here and there. We got a little close a couple times. There's once or twice off of one where I got some dirty air from a lap car and we almost made contact. But it was a lot of fun racing there with Andrew.
Look, after the caution, that shootout there to the finish, looked like you pretty much had no choice but to try that outside line. Wood would not give you the inside line. So on that final lap, what little bit more did you need to be able to edge him at the start-finish line?
Well, coming off that caution, I thought that we looked in a pretty good spot once we got by at Adams and Poole fairly quickly. I thought their tires were just going to fall right off and it'd just be a battle between me and Andrew there towards the end. And I was just kind of sizing them up, trying to make them wear out that right front by holding them low on the backstretch. And my actual plan was last lap, go to the inside, because the 10 previous laps I'd gone to the outside. So I was kind of almost trying to train him, like, okay, Nick's going to go to the outside. I was going to try to go to the inside, but I think the way it worked out with the run, I couldn't swipe low without causing an incident, I think. So I ended up going high, and I just got in the throttle maybe 2-3 feet too early, and I slid the front end a little bit, and it kind of hurt my momentum. I think without that, I mean, 100th is really close. So I think without that, we could have been there.
Sam's got any questions for you?
Yeah, I mean, Nick, this was a fun race to watch you and would really put on a show. Was there any point during the race you felt like you couldn't throw your car wherever you wanted to throw it?
As long as you had clean air, you're fine. And that was the thing. Like early on in the race, I tried like, all right, I'm just gonna save my tires. I'm gonna back off. I'm just gonna take it easy. And you really can't because you have to get the clean air and you have to drive the car hard in order for other cars not to drive around you. So there's like almost no saving. It's just positioning of your car throughout the run, depending if you have 4 guys ahead of you or just one. Just finding the clean air and trying to save the tires and save the car.
Obviously, we know that you wanted to win here tonight, but I don't think you can get any closer for second there. As you mentioned, 100th. And obviously, it's going to give you some good momentum here for the season as well. You put on a heck of a show there. We're going to turn the microphone over to you and let's do some shout outs here.
Yeah, round 1 of 14, so I'm happy with second. I mean, we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Hopefully, we'll be a force to be reckoned with. Anyways, I'd like to thank Shell Pennzoil for being on the car tonight, Volvo for the good horsepower, and the entire P2 Motorsport team. Everyone did a great job working together tonight, and I think we showed very well.
Definitely did agree with that. So congratulations on your second place run and look forward to possibly talking to you next week at WeatherTech.
We'll see you.
Last but not least, let's bring in our race winner, Andrew Wood. Andrew, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you guys.
Oh, we got the idea of the second place driver of what his strategy was in those final few laps. What was your strategy out in front?
Well, it was difficult because, you know, like the way to pass around this track is definitely around the low line. And as long as I didn't give Nick the low line through the corners, I knew that I had it. I was on newer tires. Obviously, we had that caution 15 laps to go. So I was trying my best to just keep a low line and keep, burning my tires up enough to keep him behind. Yeah, there were a couple times he beat me to the line with like 3 and 4 laps to go. So I knew I had to kind of try something different. And whatever line I did definitely worked. Kept him up high, and I was able to take the win.
Saw the battling that both you and Johnston were doing for second before that caution came out. And then you ended up having a pretty good gap after the green flag pit stop cycled over what was a 4-way battle for second. Then when the caution comes out, how do you then completely change your strategy and try and figure out, okay, I had this for an idea. Now I got to completely turn that 180 degrees and figure out what to do in a shootout?
I definitely think that Nick had better short run pace than me. When we were running in the cautions prior to that, he was a couple cars behind me, and I saw him kind of lurking back. The whole entire race, I was kind of going with a don't wear your tire strategy. So that's why you saw me. I led after taking the lead from Danny Roberts there. I knew the guys behind me wanted to take the lead away from me, so I kind of let them have it. It was kind of converting from a long run pace to a short run pace and trying to find a way to make that work, that they can stay behind me. And it was tricky, but I tried my best to make sure that I had different lines ready and I could play with different stuff to make sure that they stay behind.
Yeah, Andrew, it looked like you had the better long run car compared to everyone else. Did you feel like you had the better long run car?
It's tough to say. I felt like I did, but it was relative to what was happening around me. The track temperature was changing constantly through the race. It seemed like it was pretty hot early on in the race, so I was trying to drive a certain way to keep the tires fresh. But as the race went on, I just realized that I kind of had to drive the line that I was comfortable with. And if I was able to kind of lift off a little bit in 3 and 4 especially and try and save the tires a bit, I felt like that was helping me a little bit, even if I lost a position or two. So I tried my best to just keep on it and keep what I had going. And obviously it kept me in the top 5 for the whole race.
Absolutely. Well, a heck of a drive here today by you. You also got it done on pit road. We noticed that a couple of spots you gained on pit lane during those few early cautions. But we're going to turn the microphone over to you, and we're going to let you do some shout outs here.
I'm going to shout out to the team talent guys. I was hanging out with Liam Quinn the whole race. We were talking all sorts of strategy and track temperatures and everything like that. So shout out to the other team talent guys, Dakota, Riley. I enjoyed racing with Riley early on in this race. And of course, all the guys that got it done for me and give me all sorts of tips to get my oval racing package a little better. And shout out to Will and Evan for running this league in the way they do.
Oh, congratulations to you on your victory, and be interesting to see with this momentum what you're able to do next week at WeatherTech.
Let's see what happens.
All right, and that was your race winner, Andrew Wood. And during that interview, I was actually looking back. It's kind of interesting. He has now won at least one race in every season so far that Fuel has had an IndyCar series. He ended up winning twice at Auto Club, once at Kansas, and now he's won here at Motegi in the past 4 seasons. So nice little streak going on there for Andrew Wood.
Yeah, streak to watch out for. He looks like a car to watch out for throughout this year. I'm excited to see next week to see Danny Roberts and Connor Horn to make their return, and also Riley Thompson to make his return and hopefully have a better run next week. This was some great racing that makes me excited for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. We got some guys that have some great momentum going into next week. And as you stated, we got some guys that were doing well, and then all of a sudden they found themselves either out of the race or back where they hadn't been all day long. They're going to be heading into next week for some redemption. Next week, we're going to be at the WeatherTech Raceway at the Laguna Seca full course. So that is going to be a wild one. We'll see if maybe your road course ringers are going to come out in that one to maybe try and pick up a W early on in the season. But that's going to do it for our coverage here this evening. Sam, I want to thank you for joining me here tonight.
Yep, it's always a blast.
Absolutely. Hope everybody enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and we will see you guys next week